G'day and welcome to part, is it 23? If it's not, I'll write it here. Welcome to part 23, we'll call it collectively, on the ZK Fairlane Resto. And I'm sorry that I haven't had a video out for the past 2 weeks. It's been hectic. End of school holidays, back at work obviously, and there was something cropped up in my family which I had to attend to. So in this one, I didn't finish anything. I started pulling the carburetor apart. There's a Holley 600 that was in a pretty sort of sad state, and I started pulling that apart, but I only pulled a bit of it apart. Then I flicked over to something else, which is the mirrors, and I planned to do the mirrors as a separate video, but I didn't finish it because then I was doing the welding on the back. So I'm doing my usual trick of just being silly. The mirrors themselves, I've decided to go the original type, obviously. These are, I thought these were XFZL. These switches. I thought XEs and ZKs had the one down yonder, which is where the boot release button is. I don't know. I can't remember. So I'm just putting the switch back in here. I thought they had these as a little sort of joystick pad that goes there. I've got it on the bench over there. This is wired completely differently. I haven't investigated it very far, but the whole configuration of it's different. So I can probably do it with these switches, I'm not sure. I did buy one of these. Now these are, this was from Grant Walker. You can get them for 20 bucks online, and it'll be from the same supplier, I would think. This is the EF Falcon type, which is fantastic. They go that way, left, right, and you can just adjust them. Perfect. And dead easy, stupid easy to wire these up. Yeah, with those 3 wire light mirrors. That's what they're made for, this configuration. The problem is fitting it in a place where, I mean, it's not going to fit there because it just won't, and it would probably look clumsy. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do. Whether I'm going to probably have to run up a couple of additional wires on this with diodes in them, because the way these work, as far as I know, is 2 sets of wires that change polarity, where these have a common one which changes polarity. It kind of does that. If that makes any sense, I'm not sure. So this is the easiest way to do it. You're in and out of there in no time, so I've just got to figure it out how to do it. I haven't had enough time, pardon me, to really think about how I want to do it. The back window, around the back window, was a lot worse than I thought. Once I took all this elastic off, and some of the repairs are dodgy, you'll see that. Also, when I'm doing the mirrors, going back to mirrors, you'll see when I'm welding the back on, it leaves a lot of residue. That's because it's gasless. So there's gas and there's gasless, or gas and flux coiled wire for a MIG. And when you use flux coil, you change the polarity on the torch. I'm having trouble finding someone who can fill my gas cylinder. So sometimes I do change them over. And so lately I've just been using gasless. That being said, you wouldn't buy the general gasless stuff you see in a hardware store. Just stay well away from it. You won't get a good weld. It's terrible stuff. You go to a proper BOC gases, or one of these welding places. I can't remember where I got that from. In Lillardale I got that. No, Bayswater, I can't remember. And it's a proper welding place, and you get the good stuff. Yeah, and then you can use it, and it gives you a reasonable result. So a bit on the carburetor, a bit on the mirrors, a bit on the back window of the car. I'm just about finished the back window. I'm just about finished a lot of stuff actually, but I've just been doing bits and pieces I can. I'm sorry this is disjointed and it's been a little while, but with that being said, I hope you enjoy. Right, got all this stuff back. That's all ready for plating. All sorts of bits in there. I've done 1,000 of these things. Don't forget when you're doing, you've got to take those springs out. If I can see where the spring is. Hang on a minute. Yes, that one's out. And the long one's out, yes. All the, clamps for the wagon and actuator rods for the XA, the sedan. That for the wagon. Get it done in gold. It'll match the green. They're supposed to be silver, but I normally get everything done in gold. And they're the things that Chauvel donated. The, what are they called? 3-speed manual things, and these bits and so forth. Bunch of hinges for wagon and sedan. The wagon ones I'm redoing with the cheaper plastic bush set. The sedan will get the brass ones. That's just a slinger for a cleaver and a rock cover. You can't see in the sun. This thing looks mad. It's got copper as well. Very clean. This was stuff I had done last year. That has only got one of the... Oh no, that's got... Has it got both springs in? No, that's only got one of the springs in. So these ones I've got to put the springs back. There's a bit of hardware down there. And this is stuff that was going to get plated, but they closed down before Christmas and I didn't have time to get it done. There's... Let it adjust. A couple of bits in there. That's a door handle bucket for an XC, I think. Because eventually I'll put black door handles on the GXL. So I'll take this lot off to go and get done tomorrow. These ones I'm just going to throw in a bit of etch primer. I think we're going to get some rain. Now it's time for dodginess. Okay. I'm leaving that bit in. Sorry, this bit's coming out. There was the biggest pits across there. Kind of like that. I've been using a drill bit, drilling out the rust and then welding them up. It's not perfect. I can go in and refill it. But I didn't want to cut this off. I should probably have cut it off up here. It's pretty messed up. But I didn't want to put too much heat into the roof. Because these things, my XD goes da-dun, da-dun, you know, blip, blip, when you wash it. This has all got to be finished, but I've just started it. It looks like it's buggered under that ledge too, in some areas. So I've got to just clean the rest of this elastic off so I can really see what's there, and then I can start cutting it. But I haven't started the other side yet. I'm nearly done with that side. But yeah, there's a lot of this. See how deep they are? And then they stop, and then it's all right for a bit. It's like it's good there, it's fine. And even under there, it's fine. I'm still going to cut there because I want to replace that bit there. But you know, this is it's not without its challenges, really. I've replaced all of this, or most of it. Between that line and over there, that's original. This is just blowing out all over the place. I filled a hole in there. I'm in the middle of filling that. There was a little pinhole left there, so I've just gone above it with the MIG on a very low setting, so it's not penetrated properly, but it should block that hole up. The rest of it is though. But you see these sorts of things, you hit that and it'll just blow out. And the same over yonder. So it's turned out underneath all that goo to be much worse than what I thought it was, which is normal. It's an old car. So I'm sort of halfway through it now. I thought I was almost finished, but I'm not. So it doesn't look tidy. I've just got to fill in a few more bits here. That is open under there. These are little bits I've been filling in where there were just holes. Like that's underneath that line there is where the windowsill comes to. And yeah, it was gone. I should have just joined it there, but I just didn't want to put too much heat into the roof. So yeah, that bit under there, that's the skin off this bit under here. There. Oh, and there's also a bit of the reinforced skin there. There's actually two. It's got to be triple thickness. So there's another piece I've got to add to there. And that'll go to here. I've replaced that bit. And I've got to do this bit here. And I've started cutting that out. But this sort of thing, I'll put a patch in there. These smaller ones you can weld up. You just sort of hit it on the side. You can put a block of copper or brass or something underneath. I just hit the side and there's a very small blob and then fill it in. Grind it off. But yeah, it's a lot worse than what I anticipated around that window. I've got to fix that too. And you do it and then you come back and you think, well, I should be able to do a better job than that. I've finished that bit. So that was all rusted right up here. Tidy that up a bit in here. But yeah, and that was all, it was very hard to do, and it's not done in a very tidy way, but It's the best I can do for now. And it's, yeah, about another full day's work really. By the time I go and tidy up what's there and do other bits and pieces, and I'll do these bits too. So I want to get it so the whole body is absolutely rust free, except the lower quarters. And I haven't bought the patches yet. I just thought I'd take a break from messing around with rust and pull this apart. I haven't got much bench space, but it's pretty dirty and dusty. This is the Nathan Hickey haul, which was the 302 in the Fairlane, the C4, all that sort of stuff. So a lot of Nathan's stuff is going in the Fairlane. But I'm going to overhaul this and get much of it blasted and plated, you know, make it look a little bit prettier than what it does. You can buy remanufactured carburetors at a pretty reasonable price, really. But it's one of those situations where I've got it, so I might as well use it, you know. And the Holley that I've got on the car at the moment is so good that, yeah, I mean, I think they go really well with 302s. Look how dirty it is. So, you know, it is what it is. How do you get these out? I don't think I've ever done a Holley. Oh, yes, I have. That's got a little E-clip on it. Okay, I need special bits. These will have O-rings on them. Let me see if I can find out what bit that is. Don't forget, if you do pull one out, a crossover tube, and there's no O-rings on it, they'll be in here. Just be careful you don't scratch the... There it is, it's under the crank. Let me do this end. Whoa! And that's very crispy and stiff. Yeah. Oh, that one's really stuck. Here we go. There's another one. This metering block, if that's what it is actually loose. And I've not reflogged it. So on the secondary side, but it's not tight. That one was actually hanging out. And I don't know what I'm going to do with that vent either, because it's kind of bent over. I don't think it'll harm the operation of the thing. I think it'll be fine. Oh, come on. But this thing is years old and really dirty. So it's not going to hurt to see if we can resurrect it, make something useful out of it. I mean, just so much simpler, sorry, than a thermocline. Damn, this thing's stuck solid. Okay. Yep, that's good enough to get cleaned up. And the body. This has been used in ages. You don't want to scratch around the mating surface either. Whoopsie. Well, I'm not sure how this is going to fly, but I'm going to have a crack at it anyway. This is a Mirofo XD. XE is the same. Falcon. What I'm going to do in this video might apply to a whole bunch of other models as well. This one's fairly knackered, but we do have, I'm putting electric mirrors on, and as such, you know, I'm going to try a couple of things. Now the problem with the electric mirrors that I'm using is they're not for this model, so we've got to think about how we can best sort of make it all work. Yeah, spider webs. Right, that's interesting with these things. There's a couple of cobwebs and so forth. They're not dissimilar to the electric one. I'll show you what I'm talking about. Here's the electric one we're going to use, and it is really full of cobwebs all around there. There's only one screw that I can see of. I'm just hoping there's nothing alive in there We'll soon see it. Find out. I'll do it there so you get a good look at what's inside. That's pretty messed up. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We don't care what it's like. Really, it's just the housing we want, particularly one with a chrome around it that's going to suit our Fairlane. So, where's my my little brush? I'm going to brush all this out. That looks like it spent some time in the outback with that red bull dust. Right. Let me take this outside and give it a brush off. Yes, I will. If I see anything interesting there, I'll bring it in and show you. But not too bad. Now, the reason I've shown you this one is they're exactly the same casing. It's just a matter of cutting a piece out. I'm just going to take this out here, this grommet, because I'm not going to use this mechanism. It's a bit messed up. So I'll just pop out these two screws. Put them in a safe spot. And voila. Okay. That's perfect. We'll take the... Why has this got top facing the side, I wonder? How peculiar. Anyway, let's take this one off. Now, these cars are half metric, half imperial. This is just a 6x1 thread. A lot of fasteners on these cars are 5/16 coarse, but in the doors, handles, and that sort of stuff, you'll find 5 and 6mm metric. It's sort of odd, but it is what it is. Now, there's a couple of things I want to note. This comes out, that mechanism there. So, if I take this screw out, it's just going to be exactly the same casing. The little joystick there will come out somehow. Oh, that pops out of there. Just a little ball, and there you have it. Now, so both mirror casings are the same. Exactly the same. The only difference is if you want to fit power mirrors into one of these, you're going to cut it off here and here, which is all Ford have done there. That's it. Drill it on those bosses and you're out of there. Okay. So they're very easy to convert if you want to. Now what I did was probably the wrong thing. I bought XH mirrors and I shouldn't have bothered because I've paid for a whole lot of stuff I'm never going to use. Yeah. I'm interested in using the movement. This unit here, it's different in that the original has 4 wires, this has 3, so it's wired from the switch, or at least the wiring from the switch is different, and the mounts are different as well. Now what's interesting with these, again, if we look at the XD mirror here, is you can take the new mirror glass and actually cut there, and use that mount on that glass because it's the same as the original mount. Yeah, and that's just held in with double-sided tape, so it's actually quite easy to retrofit. Those glass mounts, or these mounts here, do fatigue and become easy to break with time, and you've got to be really, really careful with them. See, they make that horrible sound that you've just broken something. I'm just going to stick the screw stick under. Damn, I don't want to break the glass. Glass is still intact. And there we go. Now, these are tricky because they've got a clip. I don't know if you can see down in there, another one up there, but I couldn't figure how to get that shell off the back because you can pull these apart. They're very forgiving. They're like a Mabuchi hobby motor that you find in kids' toys. Only difference is that's 12 volt and those other things are about 3. But there's no reason you can't pull that out and clean it and make it work again. I'm just not going to bother. Just because I want a nice smooth operating unit. These mounts are the same. That will fit straight on. Yeah? They do. They fit, right? Okay. So now we've done that, we can retrofit old manual mirrors. It's all easy to do. But we'll get on to how I'm going to fit that movement into the case. So the first thing to note with this is the distance it sits out. I've got this sort of sitting right cocked over, so I can't really see it. But it's about 20 mil I'm going to work with. From that ledge to where the glass mounts. Yeah. If I do the same on here, it's probably fairly similar if I take that bracket off and mount it on the back. Well, I know it is. So what we've got to do with this, we've got to mount it onto something, because that is not going to mount the same. It's completely different. Let's just pop these screws out and have a look. Things are kind of a bit rusty. I've sprayed them, but I'm getting them off. These are actually, the guy gave them to me so cheaply that people want drug money for them. They really do. They're little slotted screws with rusty threads. I think my tea's getting cold too. I'm going to have to do something about that. Alright, here we go. Alright. So we want to keep this grommet. And we'll probably end up keeping that plug too. Oh, get off there. There we go. Keep that. I'll pop that to the side for now. And the hardware, unfortunately, is not long enough. These are a pain, these things, because the screws themselves are quite fine and quite long. Right, so a couple of things with this. On the back, there's an arrow that says top. Yeah? I'm going to get a Sharpie because I'm going to cover that. So I want to see exactly where it's pointed. And then it's going to be around there somewhere on the bottom. And it's important we know which is the top, because that's going to ascertain how the mirror adjusts. You don't want to hit it right out and it goes down, you know what I mean? The other thing I've done is I cut a piece of steel, and I don't know where it is. Yes, I do, into a circle. Sort of a circle, it's not even round. Just a bit of scrap mild sheet stock. So, we'll get some tape, and of course we'll have some tea. I'm just going to tape it to the back, making sure it's kind of centre. And then I'm just going to get 2mm drill, 2.5mm drill, and drill through there into that piece of steel. Now these are a pain in the neck, and I'll show you why. Because they've got anti-crush tubes in them. And a 4-gauge screw won't fit down there. It just stops. There are 3 of them. The one at the bottom is shorter, yeah, and they're only very thin walls, so drilling them out is not really an option. One thing that does really fit well with them, though, well, there's 2 ways to do it, really. Hey, where's the other one there? When you buy power points, electrical power points, they come with these screws. Now, these 2 are longer than that, and they fit. They fit quite well. They're I think an M3. I think it's a metric 3mm. Oh, don't quote me on that. The original ones that come out of these guys, like a self-tap type thing, and that doesn't even reach properly. The other thing is the pedestal this comes from is deeper there. There's like a locator that goes into each of those that holds it exactly where it needs to be. So it's up to you how you do it, how you mount them, but what you need to do is you need to mount that onto here. And then what we're going to do, and you can screw it or whatever, I'm just going to weld it, that onto there. But we have to be so careful because the orientation, if it's wrong, the mirror is going to be crooked. Yeah, it was a round mirror, it wouldn't matter, but these are sort of a weird shape, so I'm just going to have a crack at that. You can do this mathematically, I'm just going to do it by eye. Just as I want to. I'm being lazy because I've got so much to do in the car. I haven't got time to muck around. And once I'm just going to tack weld it. And that should be spot on there. There is a little bit of adjusting grace in the top bits here, in those top plastic parts, the bosses, where you can drill a hole alongside. I had to do it last time. I'm going to do it there. And I'll line those holes up and I'll just tack it. Don't weld in shorts. So with the casing, or the frame of the mirror if you like, Grant gave me some chrome polish, which is this stuff. You can use the 40 steel wool, but this is going to be mega thin, so I'll go with his polish. And whoops, sorry, and I'm just going to mask that off and just put a bit of satin black there, and it should end up a bit like that. There it is. It's nice and neat at the back. You know, oh, I've got to put that grommet in. Where is it? This grommet. Which way is it going? Goes in from the other side. So I've got to figure out the backings. Now the backings are a bit of a pain because I'll show you. Hang on, is that right? No. Yes, that's right. Because they have little pegs that break all the time. Oops. Put that through there. Oh, okay. Now, one of these, this one, still has one of its pegs there. And the pegs locate into there. We can fill that and then re-drill it and have a very small countersunk self-tapper there, a black one. This is pretty major. I've got to wash both of these. But that'll sit... Yeah, I might even repaint them. They don't sit like that. That's all right. That's cool. They're just a really sort of crummy design because, one, they don't move, so they break all the time. That's the reason there's not many around. And they're quite weak there, although that's still intact. And that's still got a pin. This has got both of them broken. So I'll give that some thought. In the meantime, I've got two working mirrors. It's a bit pitted on the chrome, but it doesn't matter. It's an old car. So what we've got to do now is we've got to figure out, because they're wired in different ways. So these are wired such that there's a joystick, and each mirror has 4 wires. It's kind of confusing. So this is designed to have, you know, these two swap polarity and then these two swap polarity. Whereas these switches have, I think, 2 sets of different cables for the 2 functions instead of writing a separate or a singular, call it ground, between the 2 motors, because that's all that is. There's 2 motors in there. So I'm going to figure this out, and it might mean running parallel wires with diodes in them to stop power feeding back into the switch. I've got to figure it out. I've got to figure out what these pinouts are. The direction switch is easy. There's just 3 wires, which would be these ones. You'll have a common, and then you have right, left, and it just switches between there or there, like that. So that's either right or left mirror, that's easy. It's this bit that I've got to think about. The other thing is, these are riveted together. There's a fluted or a knurled type rivet there. We can squeeze that together. I don't really want to open it up, but if I have to, I will. But that should just squeeze in. There you go. And that should do it for a little while longer. Okay. Check this out. You can't move it. That's the Epotech that I used around the back window. Dangerous stuff. And I've used it around the window and up on top of here. That was all rusted. You can see it's all little pock marks around it where I've taken it off. Not perfect by any stretch. I've just found that there too. That looks like it could be a little hole. So I'll obviously revisit that. These areas in here, I was chasing around. I should really have changed that whole thing. In between each little rusty piece, it was solid. So I chased around, filled up those holes, and it's not very perfect, but I don't think it really matters. Also under there, it was a bit rusty, so I did what I can to take that rust off and welded up patches. So of the original roof parts, like the actual where it goes in, you can see that bit there to about there. That's about it. The rest of it's all been changed. Oh, hang on, no it hasn't. And from about this one here down to there is original. I didn't touch that. I didn't touch that bit, but I've pretty much done all the rest. Not that lip, but on this face here, I've had to do quite a lot. And again, it's not that great, but it's going to be fine. Under there, I haven't taken the rust off there yet. So where it's rough, in these sorts of areas here, I'm just going to put a little skim of bog there, filler, sand it back, then I'm going to put another coat of this on, and on the other side, and on that member there, which we thought was rusted out, and it's not, which is great news. So from here, that hole there for the gas, and a bunch of repairs along here, along that sort of gutter rail. And I'll also fill in where the gas filler thing was. Any of the gas related holes in the tubs, I'll do that too. Gave this is Marty's 302. Marty's been back. He's donated a back window seal, which is wonderful. Thank you, Marty. And we're going to, I've given this a rough hone. So I've got to literally block the decks on it to make sure they're flat. That's just, you can see the hone pattern there. That's just dried up CRC and snot from that, which I've left on because it doesn't rust. So that's going to come up fine. That's going to really come up fine. And I've got everything here to build that, so we can go ahead with that too. That will go up to the other place, along with, I've just bought a rotisserie. Well, my brother bought, I'm going to pay him back, for $300 for a full rotisserie in very, very, very good condition. So I've taken the rotisserie up to the other place, and I bought back the wagon's fuel tank. Now, I had this sort of tethered. It stinks. Inside, all that stuff has gone, kind of evaporated off, but it's left a kind of oily treacle in there. There it is there. Can you see that coming down? See that drip? It's pooling at the bottom. So it's kind of gross. I'll just leave this. What's it like on the other side? Beautiful. So I'm going to give this to John. John's on a cruise at the moment. John the hydroblaster. He actually welds them, and I think he fills them up with argon before he welds, because then nothing can catch fire. So that's a great tank. I'm going to put that back in the wagon, so I'm happy with that. So someone has decided that it was a good idea to use silicon, Celastic, behind the taillights. And it is not easy to get off. It's going to destroy the gasket that's there. So I'm just trying to cut through it. I'm going to have to make some new gaskets to get the taillights out. I'm at the tail end of this. I want to start repairing the boot rail, this sort of guttering stuff, and I can't weld with the toe lights in situ because I don't want to damage them. Oh. And they're brittle now, so I'm just trying to go underneath and over above to try and get it off. Now what's happened is I think they've glued in between them too, and that's catastrophic because I can't reach where the gaskets go around the taillights and these sorts of areas here. So, and that is moving now, but the indicator's not. So it's a breeding ground for wrecking your lights. I left this before. I didn't want to, before I turned the car around, I didn't want to sort of chance wrecking it. It sounded like there was something crunchy behind me. I've got all the nuts off. But the last thing I want to do, because this is exactly the sort of thing that people ask a huge amount of money for because they're hard to get. And, you know, it's quite frustrating. I'm using this spatula and this sort of tool knife thing to run along it to cut it, but I'm sort of a bit miffed about it because using this sort of technique is really unnecessary. I think I'm making some headway. I've just got to be so careful. So I want it to be quite free on the indicator side before I put too much pressure on. Even putting pressure on the studs from behind could break the housing. And I can see this elastic sort of between each light as well. I think that's pulled away. I think the lens is pulled away from the body there. So that's another thing to be careful of. I might be able to persuade that out from the inside. But it's so frustrating. Ooh, that sounded good. Seriously, what an idiot. Why would you do it? Why would you do it? So I'm going to have to make... Yeah, they've got all elastic all over these damn gaskets. It's crazy. Why would you do it? Now I can't use these, or at least I might be able to just put mastic sealer on there, but elastic on this sort of thing is a no-no, I reckon. Where was this pulled apart? Oh, that's broken. But I can probably fix that by using a longer, maybe a longer self-tapper into there. I'm assuming there's a self-tapper in behind here. So more of the same sort of repairs, but I'm not very happy about it. One bit of really good news, this came off with no effort at all. And the gasket is kind of in very good nick. So that's a good thing, it's a plus. Taking these off. These are the eyebrow molds, for want of a better term, on the back. Not really eyebrows because eyes would be at the front, but a bit of a dent there. We'll have a go at getting that out. Now, these boot channels. These are a pain because on the XC and the XW we had some today, but I could stand in the boot because the fuel tank takes up the boot floor. These, you can't. Now, how much of that can you see? Nothing. Hang on a minute. Let me just reposition the camera. It's not a particularly good view. I can get in with... These things are brilliant, these Scotch-Brite pads. That's quite a coarse one. And you can really clean up the metal around where the rust is. Probably not a bad idea to put goggles on. Yeah, I think I might. Now, if it hasn't broken through, we can give it a stab. The other way I check it is just put a dot of weld on, and that'll blow through. If it doesn't blow through, you know it's quite thick.
That's probably not too bad. It seems all right. There's still a bit of scale there. If there's any holes, I'm going to cut it out. It's easier to weld inside the channel from above and then the back, yeah? So if the floor of that's gone, cut it out, weld it in from the top, use a die grinder to get that out. I prefer to do it from underneath, so it stays seamless. Now, we can treat that with phosphoric if it's alright, phosphoric acid, and then a bit of Epotec, like we used around the back window, and that would come out fine. So it's kind of mangy, there's a crack there, and it's thin, so if I hit that with a welder it's going to blow out. But I'll replace what I need to, so there's a bit there that's gone, there's gone, there's a hole there, so that'll need to be replaced. That's got brazing next to it, which is no good when you're MIG welding either, so I'm just going to continue along here. I've just got to get some goggles. I feel a bit vulnerable without them. Good, because these Scotch-Brite pads, they tend to get rid of all the rust. Just leave with a few pits. You can really see what you've got with them. But I reckon this might be alright. There's a bit more metal than I thought to replace. It's hard to get in those areas there. So it might be sort of prudent to replace that whole back piece there, just between there and there. Actually, no. Quite a long piece. That might be the way to go. Let's have a look at this. You can't weld to this stuff, it's too thin. So, probably should have cut that a bit more. You can clean that up with a die grinder. And nice and thick, good, I can weld to all that. I'll clean up that corner. I've got to get that out with a Dremel. This one over here, pardon me, is all brazing all around there. So I'm going to put a bit of copper there. Where's my little brass thing? Hang on. All brass, it doesn't really matter. That's probably too thick, is it? Yeah, it's too thick. You just put it behind there and just fill that in, grind it off with golden. Right, that's what I use that for. But this stuff I reckon is treatable around there. Let's get that out. There's a bit there, I'm not really sure what to do with that. I might cut that out too. I mainly want to cut out what I have to cut out. Get rid of him. I don't like the look of him. That felt thin too. But the rest of it, I'm just going to make up just a piece there. I'll get that level, because it's not level at the moment. When you get that sort of thing, that might have, so it has got a spot weld behind it. That'll just probably blow through. I just want to make sure it's all solid and all good. See the brazing there? You've got to be careful of that. There's a hole there too. That's going to be a pain in the neck, but it doesn't really matter. So just got to make sure this is all clean. That's all grotty. We'll just check it out and act accordingly. I'm going to take these off because now I can see. So I'm pretty happy with that. We're getting there slowly. I'll take that tyre off, that new wheel, the new tyre, sorry, on the Recoed wheel. That was all hydroblasted and painted. That'll come off when I start welding that up. I don't want the welder spitting out, you know, onto that new tyre just under there. So I'll take that off before I do that. And probably while I'm doing the rear quarter repairs too. I don't think I'm going to order them this week because I am a little bit broke. So I've just got to do things as I can afford to, hey? Anyway, with that being said, Take good care of yourselves. So I might just clean that up. Take good care of yourselves. Enjoy your classic, and I shall see you soon. Damn, 39. It's cooling down though. It was 41 here a second ago.